So the Angry Welshman back again. I know some of my videos mostly just point out the obvious and there's not really much need, but you know, I quite enjoy doing these things. But D-Marble started off with me. He seemed quite a reasonable chap, but good grief has he gone down some really shit places now. And you know, oh, it's common sense. God, he's turned into an arrogant ass. And the only trouble is with him is that he doesn't listen. At all. Ever. I mean, he's just done this recent video now where he's asked people to answer his questions. And all this kind of thing, answer his things like that. But is he going to answer them? Is he going to reply? Fuck no. As if. Like every time somebody debunks his videos time and time again. Does he reply to those videos? No, of course he fucking doesn't. He doesn't, he's not interested. His mind is fucking made up, regardless of what you give him. Right, and this video is a clear example of bullshit that flat earthers say. It's amazing. With flat earthers, what they say is correct, and it's quote unquote common sense. Right? But what we say is apparently, you know, they just repeat the same old shit. Because, like, you know, and it's not like that it's been credited over hundreds of years of experimental science and you know, observations and all this kind of thing. Oh no, it's just made up bullshit just to explain, you know, shit because it's part of the conspiracy, as, in his own words, to hide the creator. Well, I don't know why. I'm not sure if the all-powerful creator could be able to show himself. He should be able to. Well, I don't know. But hey, right, this video is more the same shit. I uploaded it a few days ago. Let's just see where this shitty little rabbit hole takes us.
Flat Earth knowledge. There was a lot of new people came out making content about Flat Earth. There was the first conference. A lot of people were having Flat Earth meetups and all that.
Yeah, that's the problem, is because when they know about Flat Earth, what they do is they watch people like yours videos. They watch Jeranism's videos and things, and they keep on watching Flat Earther videos. I mean, I'm just gonna go down a video. The same thing nearly happened to me, because I like conspiracy. I like all things. It's interesting. It's fascinating, right? Don't get me wrong. Okay, but I watched these Flat Earther videos, and I watched more and more and more and more. I went, oof, God, he might have a point. It wasn't until that I started watching science videos and making certain observations and thoughts for myself, then I really started to see how stupid Flat Earth was. And the fact that most of these people haven't actually done research at all. You know, this is the issue here. Is they haven't, you don't do research. It's the last thing from your mind. Yes, you did that video recently when you found, like, what was it, an article in the newspaper from the year 1900, and it says this proves that the flat Earth is the globe Earth is nonsense. It's like, no, it doesn't. All that shows is just a mass, you know, a group of fanatics that, or religious fanatics, I might add, that didn't agree with the heliocentric model on the globe and tried to prosecute the entire educational system. I think they failed in the large part, so it didn't prove fucking anything.
But if you're new to the concept, you're probably going to get a whole lot of the same responses that people give you on a regular basis.
Same old responses, yes, because maybe it's because they're right and correct and are backed up.
You're excited about the concept, you don't quite know what to say, and some people will come to me saying this. You know, it's really simple the way that I explain it. Look, bottom line, the Earth's surface is mostly water. You don't have to...
Yes. Yes, indeed it is.
Say in percentage for bodies of water on curve. Period. You pour a glass of water, surface is flat.
Still a very small amount of water.
You look at a puddle on the side of the road after it rains. The surface is flat.
Still an extremely small amount of water.
You ever been to a swimming pool? Before anybody jumps in from one end to the other end, it's flat. You go.
Yes, that's because the bottom. It's because the whole thing is designed that way. The whole swimming pool is 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. It's a box.
Out to the lake, you've been fishing, you've been out on a boat, whatever. It's flat, right across.
Oh, really? Even go back that picture. Yeah, it looks kind of flat. But that emphasis on that word looks kind of flat. It may not be, things might look like a certain thing, but it might not actually be that certain thing. Like, can you actually see the bottom ground all in that water over there? No, you can't. And the thing is, the amount this water's probably going to curve is about 0.00 something degrees. It's going to be nothing. Nothing.
It's flat, right across. The ocean plays by the exact same rule.
No, it doesn't.
And then when people say, well, what about when I see boats going over the curvature? Well, the fact of the matter is, if you take out a telescope, a pair of binoculars, or a camera with a good zoom, you take that boat that you thought you saw go.
See, now that boat is this is one of the few videos they always seem to show. Okay, now that boat hasn't gone that far yet.
A pair of binoculars or a camera with a good zoom, you take that boat that.
See now, only just then that boat went out of your view, purely because of how far away it was. Okay, and you see that he zoomed in and it came into visible.
A pair of binoculars or a camera with a good zoom, you take that boat that you thought you saw go over the curvature of the water and all that, and you can pull it right back into view. This has been done multiple times. That's not even an argument.
Yes, it is. It's because you don't do it properly. What flat earthers do is that they see a boat, and then it goes out of view because it goes so bloody far away, and then they try and pinpoint it again and zoom in and claim that, well, they didn't see it because it went over the curve. No. What I'd like you to do, D-Marble, is zoom in on this. Grab a camera and a telescope, zoom in on that beauty. I guarantee you that what's hidden under the horizon line here will not come back into view. Why? Because it's gone over the curve. Flat earthers never do it to this sort of stuff. Okay? So what I want flat earthers and people like you to do is zoom in on this sort of observation. But you won't do it. Because you zoom in, it'll just zoom into that and the line will stay exactly the same.
It's all about perspective. That's what made you think that you saw a boat go over curvature.
Yeah, but things don't usually disappear bottom first in terms of perspective. That doesn't happen.
The fact of the matter is, everywhere you look, everything that you look at, the further away something gets from you, the smaller it becomes. I know you know that.
Do you? Oh, okay.
But the thing is, and you probably learned this in art class, you might have forgot about it. Okay, you had to draw that city street. And in that city street, you saw everything shrinking into the vanishing point. Just the same, you can see it right behind me right now. You know that this van, these little wooden panels right here, this is all about, let's say about 1.5 feet apart. But you see how it seems to go inward towards the back right there. That's the law of perspective. Everything goes into the vanishing point. That's why you think that you see things going over curvature. Some people are going to say something like, oh, the earth is flat. Well, why don't you show me the edge? Why don't you show me the edge of space? How about that? All these satellites are supposed to be out there beaming back these crystal clear, high-def pictures of all these stars and quasars.
Bullshit. Okay, well, I'm going to start. That edge of space. Well, no, because we're not even sure that space has an edge just yet. Okay? You really need to understand how these pictures are made. It's not just taking a P900 and taking a fucking shot. It's not how these are done. They're taken through different ways. I think I'm correct in saying that most of these are done through long exposure, sort of, big shots that take up, taking a lot of light, and through different wavelengths. Then they sort out the colour through the information they get from data. It's not just click and shoot.
Quasars and planets and all that mess. And
I would like to point out, if you grab a camera and a good telescope, and you zoom onto one of the stars on Orion. I don't think it's on its belt, I think it's one of the ones coming vertically down. You will zoom in on one of the stars. Okay, now on that star looks like a bit smudgy. You zoom in, you'll start to see the Orion Nebula. And you can do that with your own bloody camera. I mean, it's quite simple. Okay, let's see if we can have an example here. Let's go to Google. Orion nebula amateur photo. Well, this is an example of what you'd see. See? These are just far clearer and taken with far more impressive cameras. Let's have a look. See, Andrew Simmons telescope with iPhone. So we used a small little telescope, by the look of it here. Orion Nebula taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. Like I said, a lot of that's different wavelength, but different technology. So you see, it's not bullshit.
Millions of miles away, but you can't go from one city to the next without dropping your call. But these satellites are supposed to be sending all
Yeah, but your mobile phones are not satellite phones, but
these images from millions and millions of miles away. But go outside some night, and we're supposed to have thousands and thousands of satellites up there orbiting between the Earth and the Moon. Go look at the Moon for maybe an hour or so, however long you want, and I guarantee you won't see a satellite going in front of the Moon. Between you and the Moon's supposed to be 238,000 miles away. You're not going to see a satellite going between you and the Moon. Go stare at it. Go try it on a clear night. Go ahead.
What bullshit is this? Do you not realise, yeah, the Moon's really far away, but do you realise in terms of perspective, ironically enough, how small these satellites are? They're about the size of a small car. So what you're basically suggesting here, you're complaining the fact that, you're complaining that I can see a big building at my, outside my window now. Let's say it's a fair few hundred meters away. Now, you're basically complaining that you can't see a fly pass in front of that building from that distance. You know, let's say the fly was halfway in between. You're not going to be able to fucking see it. This is the concept we're talking about. You're completely ignoring scale and distance. Completely. Even though people have shot fucking images of the ISS, you know, passing in front of the moon with very high-powered cameras. But, you know, oh well, you don't do that shit, do you?
You know, people like to say, well, what about the southern stars? You know, the southernmost parts of some continents, they all see the same stars rotating. Yeah, they see the same stars rotating. You're saying it yourself. We shouldn't be seeing the same constellations every night.
We don't see the same constellations every night. We see, when you look north, you do. When you look directly north and you look at Polaris area, you see those constellations. But you don't see the same constellations when you look east or west. That's a straw man argument there that you don't do enough research on. Some of the constellations you see at night do change. Very much so. From season to season. But you don't think this sort of question through. And also, yeah, you've avoided this kind of concepts. On your map that you've got printed on your bloody hoodie proves you wrong. Where it's amazing how they have a pole star. And I've done a video basically that proves this, okay? That Australia can see the pole star turning. South Africa can. And South America, sorry. And South Africa can. And all these kind of countries on here, they can all see it rotating at the same point. That's impossible on your fucking map. Impossible. It's just, you know.
Okay, you've been seeing the Big Dipper since you were a child. Why do we have a North Star? I mean,
why we have a North Star? That's got nothing to do with the Earth being a globe or being flat. It's just there.
Seriously, we have one star that's been in the same place for all of your life. For
all of our lives, yes.
Throughout all of recorded history, these people used to navigate.
Not with all of recorded history. No, that's bollocks, I'm afraid, Sunshine. It's been well documented and proven through thousands of years worth of study that the pole star has changed. And also, I would like to point out the Polaris does move, but you people aren't going to fucking listen to that. You know, we do the pole star does move, and there is something called precession, and I will get to that later, where the stars do move. If people of today compared the astronomers from 2,000 years ago, and you compared their accurate sort of measurements, you'd find out that they're different. Astronomers have been comparing other astronomers' data to their own for thousands of years. I mean, geez, your idea of what astronomy is just where they look up, take pictures. No, it's a little bit more fucking complicated than that, I'm afraid.
From one continent to another based off of that one star, and it's never moved, but the Earth is supposed to be orbiting.
It has moved. The pole star, the Polaris is known to, or the North Star is known to move about 1 degree every 72 or so years. It's not noticeable at all.
Around the sun's supposed to be orbiting around this. The sun.
That fucking picture again. Good grief, that video.
The whole galaxy is supposed to be going this way. And come on, man. All these things are supposed to be taking place out in space, all this movement, and yet we still see the same stars. I mean, seriously. Well,
Scale. How big everything is. Oh, you think that's a coincidence? Well, tough shit. It's just what life is, I'm afraid.
I mean, you know, they'll say that the stars are moving with us. We're not moving. That's
Yes, we are.
the thing. Go outside. You understand your 5 senses.
Oh, here we go. I think I can pretty much guess where this is going.
If you're standing on top of a car and that car happens to be going down the road at 15 miles an hour or something, you're probably going to feel it if it's moving. But we're not.
Dude, I use this argument all the time. When you're sitting down on a plane, you're strapped in, right? The plane's done taking off and it's doing a speed of, let's say, 500 miles an hour. You've been on a fucking plane. You did one of your so-called experiments on it. Alright? 500 miles an hour or more, depending. Does it feel like you're moving? No, it doesn't, does it? So basically, what you're saying in terms of this case, so by your logic, if I unstrapped myself from the seat, stood up in the alleyway of the plane, I should get launched back to the back of the plane at a rate of 500 miles an hour. But that doesn't fucking happen, does it? Because you're in the bubble of the plane. It's, you know, it's sort of gravitational bubble. I want to come up with something to say there. So basically, in terms of our planet, we're in its gravitational bubble. Whether you want to, because you people always like to ignore gravity, seeing that, you know, it's what you do.
And this is when people are going to say, well, the atmosphere. Okay, fine. Question for you. Other than the Earth, can you give me an example of an enclosed system existing next to a vacuum without a physical barrier?
It's gravity, but never mind.
Nobody ever gives an answer for that.
It's gravity.
Other than, well, what about Venus? What about Neptune? You've never been there. You've only been on Earth, and you're just saying words.
Saying words? Yes, science, facts, astronomy. Facts. Please do some more reading.
Giving these programmed responses. But okay.
Programmed? Yeah, because it's facts through thousands of years worth of research and writing and documenting and observations and measuring and...
Let's go with that. Let's say that we don't feel any movement on the Earth. We can't feel any of this rotation. There's none of this chaos that will be going on the Earth that's moving because of the atmosphere. Okay, fine. How about when the guys...
Ooh, he's getting angry, isn't he? Should change his channel name to Angry. Angry D.
Supposedly went to the moon, and they're out there on dune buggies, playing golf and all that. But the moon has no atmosphere, right? Moon's out in space. No atmosphere. The moon's supposed to be traveling, orbiting around the Earth. 2,288 miles per hour. Somewhere's about.
Now, just for a basis of comparison, this is a guy trying to stay upright in 109 mile per hour winds. This guy, look, he's going to fall. Up, there he is. Falls, hits the ground. Can't even stay upright. Struggling to make a few steps. 109 mile per hour right there. Now, where are these 2,288 mile per hour winds? Because
I think he's confused himself here. Dude, It's the atmosphere that causes wind. Yes, you could get stellar wind and whatever have you, and all this kind of thing. But in a vacuum, there is no wind. In a vacuum, there's no friction. And the thing is, the moon does have gravity, which is why they're able to stand on it in the first place. Okay? But it hasn't got the atmosphere, the air, the turbulence, and the oxygen that we have. So it doesn't have any air, wind, storms, nothing.
I mean, there's no atmosphere on the moon, right? They should be experiencing some sort of wind.
No, it's atmosphere that causes wind, and the moon doesn't have any atmosphere, which is why it doesn't have any wind.
Hitting them, whipping them all around. But everything looks like it's nice and cool. You see the flag hanging there. You're going to see a little string. Oh, wait, can you see the string reflecting off the guy's backpack? Yeah, there it is.
So you've just determined that's a string, probably not an antenna or something, or some sort of cable or something, or strap. No, just a string.
Okay, yeah. So, nice and fake. Those guys didn't go to the moon. This is all bogus. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
They should have got whipped off of the moon because there's no atmosphere. But everything looked like it was nice and calm out there.
Yes, it's like I've said before, you've confused yourself. When people say atmosphere, they mean basically we're in the atmospheric bubble of Earth, the gravity atmosphere. Gravity is why we have an atmosphere, because it pulls air, all these particles, things down, and created our atmosphere. It's... How many times do I need to say that? You've confused yourself in the process. In space, in a vacuum, there's no friction. Because there's no air, there's no atmosphere. So people would not be whipped off when they're on the moon. Ugh, good grief.
There, no atmosphere, nothing blocking them from the vacuum of space and the surface of the moon. So what is it? Because it seemed like everything was nice and cool on the moon. But no.
Yes, because there's no friction.
Oh, no. It was the atmosphere that keeps us from feeling anything here. But they're out on the moon, so there's something different going on. Let me guess.
No, it's for fuck's sake. It's not our atmosphere that stops us from feeling motion. In fact, it's our atmosphere that gives us motion here on our planet.
Gravity?
Oh, you don't get to do those fucking rolled backwards eyes, you bastard.
People are going to come around and say gravity, okay? That which you perceive to be gravity, the force of gravity, supposedly, things rise and fall based on molecular density, okay? The helium inside a helium balloon, helium on a molecular level is lighter than the oxygen outside the balloon. That phone's still going to sink. But
there we go, it's the same old shit. It's their buoyancy and density argument. You do realise that when shipbuilders make their ships, right, and have to calculate buoyancy, they insert the calculations of gravity. Buoyancy cannot exist without gravity. And your understanding of what gravity is so simplistic, it's childish. Most light earthers just seem to think that that gravity is something that just pushes stuff down. Gravity affects things differently based on their mass, based on their density and all this kind of thing. It's different for everything. It's how gravity works. Right? Newton, he didn't come with this theory overnight. Right? He didn't come up with gravity overnight. It took him a long time. The book which he released is huge. It took a lot of data, which basically that book and his calculations have been approved over time and is now very well understood. We can now even measure gravity nowadays. And his book is to basically explain the motions of what we see in the night sky. From the orbit of the planets, to the Earth's rotation, to when we see Halley's comet come back round. Which is predictable, by the way, thanks to those fucking astrological calculations. But, ignore those as much as you want. It's fine. It's fine. Right? I would like to point out your density argument goes completely out of the window with one experiment. And you'll probably say this is fake anyway. Get a vacuum chamber. Okay? Get a vacuum chamber. Drop two objects of various densities. In this instance, let's say a feather and a cannonball. Right? remove the air from that chamber, so it's now a pure vacuum, drop those two objects. Not only will those objects accelerate at the same speed, they will hit the floor at the same time, with the same amount of force, pretty much. Right? So, and that's a feather and a cannonball. Ridiculously different sort of densities here. That completely blows your density argument completely out of the fucking water.
What's going to happen is the bubbles are going to escape that phone because there's going to be oxygen inside that phone, and those bubbles are going to float right back up to the surface because the oxygen is less dense than the water that the phone fell into and that the bubbles are surrounded by. So everything is just trying to find its own balance within the density. Okay? That's all that is. That's all that is. There's no imaginary force. You're going to say gravity? Okay, so you're telling me that sometimes gravity's pulling things down to the surface. So if you jump and you come back to the ground, that's because gravity pulled you there.
Well, it didn't pull us there, but yeah, gravity brought us down, yes.
Okay, but there are people supposedly upside down, thousands of miles.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Beneath your feet, living, operating machinery, flying planes, riding bikes.
Yes, that's what people do.
Living their lives upside down while there's water sticking to the bottom of a spinning ball. Yet, gravity's strong enough to hold all these trillions of gallons of water to the bottom of a spinning ball, but yet a little butterfly can go flying around with no problem.
Now, at last I noticed, a butterfly's mass is far less than the ocean. Who knew?
Okay, so gravity pulls things to the surface, but when it's out in space, gravity's not strong enough to actually pull anything anywhere. Gravity causes things to just orbit. So it's very...
Yes, that's the definition of orbit, is our sun is pulling us. And we're in an orbit. It's like the ISS. The ISS is in a constant state of free fall. That's what most planets, that's what causes orbits. Because there's no friction, there's nothing to slow them down or bring them in. So they're in a constant state of free fall. So they never lose momentum. The thing is, even in the ISS, if you listen to science, which is the one thing that you don't want to listen to, is that there are still oxygen particles and things out where the ISS is. So basically, the ISS still experiences friction, which is why time and time again they tend to reboost to get them back up to speed.
very selective. Sometimes
No, because you've just confused yourself and got everything fucking wrong, as usual.
it pulls, sometimes it just causes to orbit. We can't
Same fucking thing.
really figure out what gravity is supposed to be doing here. That's
No. Yeah, that's actually a point. Yeah, you said it right. Let's hear that again.
what gravity is supposed to be doing here.
Hang on.
Orbit. We can't really figure out what gravity is supposed to be doing here.
Yeah, we as in flat earthers. You can't figure out gravity, what's gravity supposed to be doing, because you can't even wrap your head around the concept of what gravity is. So you don't know what basically it does, but everybody else in the scientific community and normal people do.
That's because it's made up, okay? Gravity
No, it's not made up. Fuck off with that statement.
is their little go-to to make sure that they can explain everything that makes absolutely no sense in this silly, ridiculous heliocentric model.
No. Newton and scientists, basically, for thousands of years, right, people studied the sky. And thanks to the maths and physics, Newton came up with calculations that, with great detail, and I would like to point out that Newton's calculations are still of use today. They have been improved over time, but they're still in use today, right? That it explains the motions of what we see, from the motions of the planets to ours. Hell, thanks to those calculations, we managed to predict, right, when we get meteor showers. We can predict when we get eclipses. We can predict when Halley's comet comes back around. Now, about 100 years ago, along Newton's time, somebody predicted not only when Halley's comet will come back around, right, but where in the sky it will be. And he was spot on with it. thanks to these fucking calculations.
What I'd like to ask somebody is, well, gee, I don't know. Here, can you make water stick to a spinning ball practically?
Oh, for
Seriously,
fuck's
can you do it?
sake. Is he, like, is this going to be like the Russian vids where he basically pours water over a tomato? It is, isn't it? Like when, you know, he just pours... No, it's because we're in the gravitational bubble, right? Things in Earth's gravity are always going to go down to the centre, which is the centre of our planet. So doing any sort of experiment like that on Earth is pointless.
Nobody really can. Here, hold on. Here, what? Here's a globe. Know what's gonna happen if I take this little Lego guy and I try to stick him to this side? I think you know exactly what's gonna happen. You know, if I try to stick him, make him stand up here in Africa, you know what's gonna happen? I think he's gonna fall off, right? Try to make him stick in South America, he's gonna fall off. America, he's gonna fall off. Oh, because it's tilted, right? Okay, yeah, but it's not big enough to create gravity. Yeah, water doesn't stick to a spinning ball.
Yes, it's not big enough to create gravity because it doesn't have enough mass and density. And it's not the size of, oh, I don't know, the actual fucking planet, you bellend.
Now, let's try that on a flat Earth map. Ta-da!
Oh, good grief. This has to be one of the most simple-minded fucking things I've ever seen anybody fucking do.
Oh, look. We say that things go up and down. There's an up and there's a down. There's no imaginary force making these things happen. So here, let's try Africa. Oh, look, he can stand in Africa. What about South America? Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. What?
Ugh. Good. Do you feel like stabbing yourself right now, honestly? I feel like just stabbing myself to let this pain end.
North America? Oh, what? That's craziness. Look, gravity's a hoax, okay?
No, it isn't. It's because your fucking simple mind and your fucking caravan living lifestyle can't understand it does not make it a hoax.
You believe that crap? I really don't know what to tell you. You're an adult, for crying out loud. It's about time to leave the fairy tales.
Thing is about like things like magnetism. That's an unseen force. How the fuck does that work? In your mind? You can't... Thing is, it's like magnetism. You can't see it, but you can see what it does. It's the same as gravity. You can't see it, but you can see what it does. In terms of like, oh, you're a grown adult. Let's bring up some information here. Precession of the equinoxes, right? Let's like, you know, the calculations of the pole star and many other sorts of things, right? Thousands, like so many astronomers over decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years, figure this shit out. Right, the precession of our pole star, right? Yu Shi, I can't remember saying that name, was the first Chinese astronomer to mention precession. He estimated the rate of precession to be 1 degree in 50 years. And that was his calculations way back then, 4th century years, so that's 400 years, so it's about 1,600 years ago. In medieval and the Renaissance. In medieval Islamic astronomy, I'm not going to even attempt to if I can pronounce that name, complied observatory set of precession of the equinoxes as 51 arc seconds per annum, which is very close to the modern value of 50.2 arc seconds. These people work together. Hipparchus, which did his things literally about bloody hell, observe in 146 BC, so before Christianity was even a fucking thing. It just keeps on going on. Pole stars, the calculations are endless. It takes 26,000 years. You're just basically not understanding the colossal scale of our planet and the colossal scale of the universe and our solar system, space in general. Look, theories and things. The precession was a known thing, and loads of ancient civilizations tried to come up with their own theories about it. The Babylonians, ancient Egyptians, Mayans, the Hindus, you know, ancient Chinese, Islamic astronomers. I mean, like Hipparchus basically, and many and Ptolemy. used data that other astronomers had done 200 years before them and found out that the stars have moved and many other kind of things. It's just, you're not looking into this deeper enough, D-Marble, honestly. Common sense only goes so far. Okay? Let me put it this way. Hundreds of years ago, it was considered common sense that if a woman was smarter than a man, she was a witch. It was common sense hundreds of years ago that when you saw Halley's Comet, a terrible event was going to happen. But now we know better. We know what Halley's Comet is. And if you actually study the motion of Halley's Comet, it's an elliptical orbit. Now, I would like to point out, D-Marble, we see Halley's Comet, right? By the way, when we don't see it, where the fuck does that go? Does it smash through the firmament or something, does it? And then disappear and then come back? It was common sense hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, that because the sky was blue, they said that that's where the waters were, hence the waters above. But now we know why the sky is blue. We know why it rains, we know how it rains, we know how the whole fucking system works.
In the past, okay? Right back there with Jennifer Lopez? Come on, man! Is that some dude is tooth fairy, Easter bunny,
Yeah.
call it how we see it. We see flat, it's flat. We see that we're not moving based on our common sense. Our five senses tell us that we're sitting still.
Your five senses can be very easily fooled. Very easily fooled.
Period. You don't feel any emotion when you put your feet on the ground when you step out of the bed in the morning, do you?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Like I said, the plane argument. Do you feel any emotion when you step from the seat of the plane to the alleyway? No, you don't.
Of course not, because it's not moving. Have you seen any curvature? Do you really think that after a certain amount of miles of flat water, then it suddenly just starts to bend? Really?
No, because it's not all flat water. Curvature is happening, but at very small increments, and we can't tell.
You think so?
Look at Soundly's videos, which everybody fucking claims is CGI, the bloody idiots. But Soundly, many people have proved that curvature is happening.
Oh, come on. Welcome to the show. It's 2018. Earth is flat. From here...
It fucking isn't. Right? Your arrogant ass is getting on my fucking nerves, because you, first of all, you ask shit, and then don't listen to the responses, and you are so unwilling to do proper research here. Go and look up Newton's book that he reads. It's, I can't remember the bloody name of Newton's book, Mathica, Precession, I can't remember. It's a, Latin name. It's a huge book. It took up many years of Newton's life to do the calculations. Please read that book. Read some books on, major astronomy. Don't just fucking get your flat earth frisbee from the side of your fucking cabinet and pop a Lego character on it, you fucking simpleton. Ugh. Well, there we are, that's me done. I'm not going into more of this video because it's, it's shit like this that pisses me off. I will have, hopefully, some more, but I am very busy with uni work at this present moment. And I will hope to have a couple of videos here and there dotted around as best I can. And hopefully if I can get my hands on a camera, I could probably do some tidy other stuff. You never know, I could borrow one from the university and probably take some pictures. Right then, I will see you all around, and good night.